DJ, in your rewind column this week, you talked about how giddy you got watching that West T game and just were like, this is great. This is football. uh, which got me to thinking for each of us, what is just your favorite thing about high school football, football in general? It could be a play or a player or a tradition, just a great game. What do you think? What do you most love to see?
Well, I've observed, I've kind of been thinking a lot this year. And of course, y'all know how I feel about college football, meeting ball, and all that,
Mm,
And football, in some ways, football is really kind of a dumb game. There's like so many things that can go wrong. When you think about it, 11 players on both sides of the ball, and any one of them can commit a penalty at any given time, right? And how many sports is that the case, right?
Plus, you're playing with an oblong ball that doesn't
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
bounce.
Right.
It's
Right.
yeah,
So, but the thing is, though, so many things have to work together for things to go like the plan is for them to go, and so what you see is when you get to this time of year, especially, you see all these guys that have learned how to make that work together, and it, you know, it's fun to watch when it is working, and then it's fun to watch teams that are on this road to a state championship game, and how many guys have to come along and contribute for them to get there. It's amazing. We're in round two, and I was hanging out with a friend at a local establishment last night, and she's not much of a football fan. In fact, last year in the Super Bowl, she asked me if the California Pirates were playing, by which she meant the Las Vegas Raiders. And I was telling her how it's a big deal if teams make it to Thanksgiving week, the third round of the
right,
playoff.
right.
And she was like, how many do they have to win state? And I said 6, and she was like, so they're only halfway.
Not
I'm like,
even.
yeah, and I'm like, well, yeah, but that's this week is kind of the week when it becomes a big deal. Wouldn't we all kind of agree on that when you
We
get to
we
the
have
third
said for
round?
years, Chad. You've said it on
Mm-hmm.
here. I've said it. You get to Thanksgiving week, you've done something. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so you win 2 games in the playoffs. Okay. Now you've got a season to remember. Uh, you know,
Except
um,
for Isabella thinks you're only halfway, so big whoop.
halfway through the playoffs is not a small deal. DJ, how would you answer this question?
Obviously, as y'all know, I've never been a football person, partially because I grew up Mexican, and it's always irritated me that it's called football, because for us, football is soccer,
Right.
right? Like, and my dad, he constantly is joking with me. He's like, "Are you covering football from like that you play with your feet, or are you covering handball?" And
I
like,
liked that. I liked that line.
um, obviously, I had to translate it from Spanish because he did say it in Spanish.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, he said, "Are you covering football de mano, or are you covering, football?" And it's like it's um but what I've come to appreciate about football here, especially in Central Texas, is just how much of a rallying point it is for so many people.
Mm.
And, like everybody's there on a Friday night. And like, even when I was at Baylor and we were doing terribly, because I started at Baylor during the 1-11 year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and even then, like
Which one?
the the Matt Rule one, the Matt Rule one. But yeah, like my friends and I would still go to the games, and I would run the line, and like we would like I don't remember having that much fun at football while I was in high school, obviously partially because our team sucked, and the other part because it was just like tough to be out there on a Friday. I was also in band for 1 year.
Okay.
So part of it was like, oh, it's my obligation to be here,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I just really appreciate how people, just go and have fun at these games, and sometimes they get carried away. I don't know how many times I've overheard things that fans yell at the refs, at the other team, at
Oh
Their own
yes.
coaches and
at the
players.
coaches. Yeah,
Yes.
and it's always especially funny when like I'm sitting in the press box and it's like the guy's right outside the press box and like he's like calling stuff out to, and it's always a guy. You never hear, like occasionally you'll hear a woman, but it's always a guy who's like going off at somebody on the field.
Still angry about some holding call he got 20 years ago.
Yeah, probably. um, but I mean, overall, I don't know. It's really cool to go and see just, people being together and like rooting for something.
Yeah, I love that as well. That is a great part of it. One of the cool things, sort of the iconic things you see a lot in Texas high school football is like the caravan from one town to the next for a playoff game. And, that old idea of turn out the lights, the whole town's going to, wherever for that next game. What I love about football, a lot of things. Basketball, as y'all know, is my favorite sport, but and it would be hard for me to pick a second favorite. Love football, love baseball. There's other sports I
Disc
enjoy.
golf.
Disc golf. Yeah. Tennis is good. I mean, there's a lot of sports. Obviously, Chad is a big golf guy. But one of the things I love about football is, and I have said it many times on Twitter, if there's ever a trick play, you'll know me to say chicanery. I love chicanery. I love when a trick play happens. Flea flickers to me are like one of the most fun things in football. Anytime there's an end of the game situation where they have to lateral about 11 billion times, that's fun. Just when things start getting chaotic and wild, that's always cool. A good, well executed hook and ladder. I mean, come on, that's awesome. That has like basketball vibes to it because you're like kind of running a screen, a picket fence or something, and yeah, it's cool.
I feel like European Bryce would have been a big rugby fan. If you had been born in, like, say, Dublin or Edinburgh.
Baylor has a rugby team, club team, and they want us to come out and cover them. And I'm like, dude, we've got a Division I university with 18 varsity sports. We got McLennan Community College. We got 70 high schools. Yeah, I think we're good.
You're 27th on the list, Baylor Rugby.
Yes, we don't have time for club sports. I'm sorry, but write that up yourself.
That's what the newspaper's for, though. Like,
huh?
Lariat's right there. The Lariat is right there.
There you go.
The Lariat, yeah.
And then obviously a great game that just is like hard hitting, comes down to the wire. When kids are making plays and just there's been so many great ones I've seen over the years. And I mean, including at like the state championship level. I saw Robinson lose a state championship game on a faked extra point. They were and they went for 2, DJ, but what they should have done is just lined up and gone for 2. If you're gonna go for 2, line up, go for 2.
I remember listening to that on the radio. They went for 2 out of the 2 points.
I was there. Fake. They ran a fake extra point with a guy running behind the holder, and he sort of threw it to him, and he made a run at it, but they snuffed it out, and I was just like, oh man, what a play call that was.
The chicanery didn't go that well that time.
No. And here's the thing about chicanery, I will say. I mean, you can't run it all the time. It has to be well set up by good, hard-nosed, well-executed football, whether that's passing or running or whatever. But I mean, you can't run a trick play on every play. But when it's done right and it's timed perfectly, then I mean, think about the Philly special in the Super Bowl. I mean, that was awesome. Cool moment. So yes, we do love football, and we're trying to indoctrinate DJ, and she's slowly coming along.
After dark last week, she was like, "Oh, that game was so awesome."
I know, and she was texting us during the game. It is funny to me to hear you say, "I grew up Mexican," like you're something else now.
I am still Mexican.
I grew up Mexican, but I identify as Caucasian now.
No, never. Always, yeah, no. It's just, You know what I mean when I say
I
that.
knew what you meant, but it still sounded funny, and I had to take a shot at you.